You are listening to the Good Day Wellness Podcast, a podcast dedicated to boosting your mood. I am your host, Melissa Fideli, and I'm here to support you on the way to calming your mind and nourishing all aspects of your life. Together, we can bridge the connection between body and mind and make every day a good day. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Good Day Wellness Podcast. Today I am joined by Alex Chris, MasterChef Australia 2024 contestant, food lover and endometriosis advocate. After years of unexplained pain, she was diagnosed with stage 5 endometriosis, a condition affecting 1 in 9 women. In this episode, Alex shares her journey from misdiagnosis to surgery, how she manages symptoms, and why she's using her platform to raise awareness. It is Endometriosis Awareness Month, and I'm so excited to have Alex here to raise that awareness and bring some much needed attention to those experiencing endo. This chat is real, raw, and empowering. So let's get into it. Welcome, Alex. Thank you for coming on the show.
I'm so excited to be on with you, Melissa, and it's so funny because I've never actually met you like this. I've only ever seen you on social, so it's a really warm welcome and I'm really happy to be here. So thank you.
Of course. Well, I already feel like I know you and that we're friends and that it's great because we seem to have so much in common. So
Trauma bonding, hey?
Yes. 100%. Oh gosh. Well, we have such a good episode lined up today. I'm so excited for everyone listening. It is Endo Awareness Month, so this is perfect timing to continue to raise awareness. But before we get into it, I have to ask, what is one thing you do every day to boost your mood?
The one thing that I have to do every single day, and I don't know if you can relate, I feel like you're going to be able to, but I have to be in my kitchen cooking something. It is my therapy, and if I don't do it, I feel really sad and I go slightly insane.
Yes, I get it totally. The kitchen is it's like your sanctuary, right?
100%.
You don't know what you're going to create when you're in there.
Exactly. It's very much a creative outlet, but it's very much a way for me to gain zen and just block out all the outside noise and have my own time to just focus on everything that is not life for a hot minute. And I love it.
And you know what? Whenever I talk to clients or anyone about mindfulness, I always say, mindfulness doesn't have to be yoga or, going on a beach walk or reading a book. Mindfulness is anything that can really help you to switch off from the craziness of the outside world. So if that's getting in the kitchen and, cooking up something and being creative, that is your form of mindfulness. And if that's what works, amazing.
100%. It keeps me so grounded. And obviously the added benefit of then having a really yummy plate of food by the end of it is the bonus.
The best. So good. I love it. Well, I agree with you 100% on that one. I think it's very important to, get in the kitchen every day, utilize your skills and see what goodness you can create. So
100%.
Let's talk a little bit more about yourself. I would love if you could share a little bit of your personal journey with endometriosis and, when did this all start kind of unfolding for you when you experienced those symptoms and realized, okay, maybe this is more than just period pain?
Yeah, definitely. So a bit of background. So like many of us, we call ourselves endo warriors because that's exactly what we are. We are little warriors, and often or not, we go through life, feeling a little strange, quite sore, and not being heard. And my journey started kind of around my first period. So I was 12 years old, and my periods were really, really painful and heavy. And, halfway through my menstrual cycle as well, I'd get, small bouts of pain. And eventually this became a little bit of an issue because I was quite an athlete as well. And I was trying to focus at school and just be a normal teenager. And so when I went to doctors to kind of find some help or some answers, they were very quick to just say, that's a really normal experience. And the best way around this is to give you a contraceptive pill or just take Panadol and you can self-manage, which is often or not, the advice that most doctors have been prescribing women all this time. Now, this continued for like 13 years, right? And there was lots of moments of complete and agonizing pain. There were lots of, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term ovarian cysts, but lots of
Yeah.
ruptures along the way as well. So lots of bursting of these cysts on my ovaries, which led me to visits to hospital and ED. And in those visits, you know, it was very apparent that there was cysts and things happening on my ovaries, but not once, and on these multiple occasions that I was in there, not once was the word endometriosis ever projected. So I would go in there and they'd be like, this is really normal, happens to plenty of females. And then the next day after, you know, copious amounts of pain medication was sent home, all for, you know, it to be coming back and then back again the next month. And I think it wasn't until, you know, a few months after that that one of my clients, at the time I was working in sales, I would sell food products to supermarkets.
Yeah.
And one of my clients, she had just come back from a surgery for a condition that I'd never heard before. It was the first time I've ever heard the word endometriosis, 13 years after actually having it all this time. And she was telling me about her journey and what her surgeries were for, and was telling me more about endometriosis. And kind of instantly in that conversation, this very one conversation, I was like, this is a moment of realization. This is what I think I have. I'm relating all of her story and her journey to how I've been feeling all this time. And then she put me on to going to see like a specialized specialist. And that's kind of where my diagnosis journey started.
Wow. Isn't
Yeah.
it crazy that you went all of those years in and out of hospital, seeing doctors, getting all the things done, and
Mhm.
no one even mentioned endometriosis? Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't even a word that you had heard before until you
Yeah.
spoke to another woman who had been through the same process. Like, it's just absolutely wild.
It's
Wild.
quite shocking. Yeah, very shocking. And I think as well, like if I had known about this in a health class, if the word was just thrown out there, I would have done my own research and possibly could have, you know, provided myself some sort of, not self-diagnosis, but some sort of way forward.
Yeah.
So I eventually then found this specialist, and I got in with her, and she directed me straight to like an intravaginal ultrasound. And usually to diagnose endometriosis, you really need to go through surgery, so laparoscopy. But you still have a bit of an ultrasound to give, you know, your specialist or your surgeon some sort of idea of what they're dealing with. And so I went and had this ultrasound, and oh my goodness, it was so painful because they go in and they kind of probe around all the bits that are really sore. And what they found, and just the expression on this sonographer's face, was enough to be like, you know, a really shocking moment in my life. She almost was in tears for me. She was like, you know, there is so much happening in this cavity that I can't even imagine the kind of pain that you've been enduring for, you know, 13 years or however long it's been. She's like, you know, you've got so many cysts, and some are like as large or if not larger than my ovaries. So to give you an idea, your ovaries about, you know, this size. To have that then accumulate, you know, a whole other cyst multiple on top of that, on just your, you know, the most sensitive little organ in your body is really quite painful. And she, you know, she was like, you know, and they're sitting in the wrong spot, and you've got all this growth kind of in between different organs that it shouldn't be. And she said, I'm no doctor and I can't formally diagnose you, but you fit the category of somebody with a really extreme case of endometriosis. So she's like, I'm really sorry, but I just want you to know that we are going to try and help you. And this is what we're here for. And so soon after that, my surgeon actually rushed me into a surgery quite quickly. It was only like a week or two after that. And thank goodness she did as well, because, you know, it was only within 48 hours after me having a surgery, which changed my life, might I just add. COVID-19 was arriving in the shores of WA, and all elective surgeries, which this surgery fell under elective, how in the world can that be a thing? They stopped them. So it was really, timing was everything for me. But yeah, it was a very intense surgery, and it lasted, you know, 5 or 6 hours. It was meant to be a 1 or 2 hour procedure, and it was double, if not triple that. So it was crazy. There was a lot there. Yeah.
So how old were you when you had the surgery, and how many years up until, like, you know, you experiencing those heavy symptoms was that
Yeah.
beforehand?
So if we go from my first period, and I guess that's
Mm.
the best way to kind of
Yeah.
judge the start of my endo journey. So say
Mm.
age 12, and I was diagnosed in 2020, and it was
Wow.
13 years. I can't do the math, but it was a 13-year gap, and I was early 20s. Early 20s. So I've been living post-diagnosis with this for about 4 or 5 years now, but 13 years
Wow.
unknown and, kind of suffering on my own.
Wow. So you said the surgery changed your life.
Mhm.
How is just within pain or your whole menstrual cycle? Like, talk to us a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Well, pain is definitely the biggest thing. And
Mm.
pain for me would span across or be triggered by different reasons. So, across the month of my cycle, obviously, I've got pain associated with ovulation and then pain in the lead up to my period and then also pain during my period. So that was heavily reduced, which was
Yeah.
awesome. But also
Yeah.
structurally, because my ovaries were in the wrong place, but then had been stitched back into where they were, it meant that not all my organs were suffocating my ovaries, which
Mm.
was very painful to feel that all the time. And, just with the normal bowel movements as well, pressing on that
Yeah.
sensitive little ovary that's so inflamed and covered in cysts, to have that now no longer a part of my life was just absolutely life-changing.
Mm.
So yeah, and different elements of my life, like I was less sensitive to some of the foods I was eating. And I don't know if that's a structural thing with my bowels and because my
Yeah.
ovaries had changed and things had freed up. Also, the intimacy with my partner had changed because
Mm.
I was no longer feeling, excruciating pain in certain positions or, it honestly affected me so much in such good ways, for a long period of time after that surgery. But again, it's all come back. So it's a bit frustrating and
Mm.
it's just a never ending kind of vicious cycle. So I'm due for another surgery, which is disheartening, but also I know how good that would be for my body because I've experienced the benefits of that before.
Wow. So I guess the benefits have lasted 5 years. Would you say that's from having
Yes
that big
and no.
surgery?
I think I definitely had a good run of like 1 or 2 years with
Yeah.
really reduced pain on every level. But because this is an inflammatory disease and you can't cure it, it's incurable. There's no cure as such. And it also grows with your hormones. So with every cycle, with every exposure to all your hormones each cycle, this growth that should be on the inside of your uterus, your period
Mm.
lining, is growing on the outside. And so with every period, essentially, and with every month, it's just growing some more in places it shouldn't. So unfortunately, I could never stop that vicious cycle. But
Yeah.
for a good 1 or 2 years there, I was essentially living a very, very normal life.
Yeah. Wow. So I probably should have asked this question at the start, but
Yeah.
I still feel like there are many people who don't fully understand what endometriosis is.
Mhm.
So, from someone who has experienced it firsthand, how
Mhm.
would you explain it in the simplest terms?
Okay. Yeah, easy. And I've done a lot of that because I've had to educate a lot of
Mm.
people around me so that they were
Yeah.
able to be there for me.
Yeah.
And also as part of my kind of role now is to try and educate people. And essentially, if you look at a period, so it's that shedding of your lining of your uterus that happens, usually on a 28-day cycle, if that's normal,
Mm. Mm.
that would kind of be expelled by your body with each month passing. But instead of this growth, just, recycling and shedding, these little cells somehow find their way into the abdominal cavity. So your uterus is like this, and usually your lining is within. But now, for whatever reason, these cells are finding their way on the outside. And on the
Mm.
outside of your uterus are all sorts of different organs. So people experience growth on their kidneys, some on their heart. But I think
Wow.
there's been even some instances of on the brain. So this seems to be
Wow.
traveling everywhere. Yeah, the most common parts are on the outer side of your uterus and your bladder and your ovaries. And of
Wow.
course your bowel, but it can travel and it's bizarre. So if that paints more of a picture for
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
and of course as well, because it's a growing tissue really, and it's
Mhm.
fed by hormones.
Yeah.
So like I was saying earlier, with every month, it just continues to grow and grow and grow and create a lot of havoc and
Yeah.
pain. Mm.
Wow. So How has endometriosis impacted your day-to-day life, from a physical and a mental and even an emotional level? I'm sure you're
Yeah.
dealing with it in every single aspect.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we talk pre-diagnosis versus post-diagnosis
Yeah.
because for me they've been very different journeys.
Mm,
Pre-diagnosis, I think the emotional and the mental burden was very much feeling like I feel like there's something wrong with me, but there's not something wrong with me because the experts that I'm trusting with my health are telling me
yeah.
there's nothing wrong. So there's this feeling of self-doubt, of always questioning yourself, of
Mm,
um, you kind of feel like a bit of a wuss because it's like,
yeah.
am I
Yeah.
just really like too sensitive maybe? Is this why I'm feeling so much pain? And you kind of go through all sorts of different feelings there. But then I guess obviously you're dealing with all this pain too, physical pain. And for me as well, things like wearing a bra. I flat out do not wear a bra because it makes me feel ill. I feel like I need to be sick when I wear one. So I don't even think I own one currently. Like I can't remember the last time I wore one. It was
Oh my
probably on
God.
MasterChef when I wore a white top. But it makes me feel really icky. It makes me feel really sick. So it's things like what I wear.
Wow.
If I have pressure around my tummy, it really hurts, or things that I eat. Caffeine really triggers me, and alcohol really triggers me, and carbonated drinks really trigger inflammation in my body. But I only knew this post diagnosis of all these things.
Mm,
So, um, the clothing things I had felt all my entire life, but now there was reason for it. And so instead of fitting in and being, societally, fitting that societal, what's the word, start to see, can't think of it, but fitting that norm of,
yeah.
wearing a bra or acting in a certain way or, eating certain foods or this for whatever reason, I would not do that because it just hurt. So yeah, post diagnosis, emotionally, it was kind of a relief because I knew what my body was fighting. And so I've kind of learned over the years to be more patient, more kind, more understanding. I
Mm,
really worked out my triggers, what does and doesn't trigger me. And so I can navigate, my way of living accordingly. So
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot there. But again, it's all about um, you know, recognizing what you're feeling and
Mm,
reacting accordingly. So there's no one size fits all kind of model, and everybody reacts differently on all those levels, mentally, emotionally, physically. And I think for me, it's been really good to have a good support network around me who are willing to learn as well about what I go through and willing to understand. So yeah, I think that all helps with your emotional and your mental well-being as well. Of course, you're always going to physically suffer, and I think over time, because you're used to so much pain, you dull it down, and it becomes really normal when it's not.
mm. Yeah, of course. And when you're being told that there's nothing wrong with you or you're fine or just take
Mhm.
Panadol, of course you're probably like in at war with your own
Yeah.
mind for such
Oh,
a long
literally.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think there's a real, and I feel like a lot of women that I've spoken to who have endometriosis, there's this real tug of war,
Mm,
movement sort of thing within themselves because they've been told that everything's fine and normal, but you really don't feel that way.
yeah.
You lack so much self-worth and you discount,
Mm,
what you're going through to the point where it starts infiltrating into other parts of your life. Like you might feel less confident delivering a speech or just
mm.
talking, or honestly, just every part of your life becomes affected because you suddenly have started discounting yourself and questioning yourself and what you're feeling. So it kind of, yeah, it plays into all aspects of your life on so many levels.
Wow, that's so interesting. Because it would,
Mhm.
when you're being told certain things and you're made to believe something that physically doesn't feel true to you, it's
Mhm.
definitely going to impact every other aspect. So, I think it's great that you've brought up the self-worth and,
Mhm.
how it can make simple things feel harder, like getting up and speaking or
Mhm.
doing all of that. But I feel like one thing you have done so well, and that's why you are an incredible ambassador for this cause, is you've gone out and you've done those things, you've put yourself out there, and you've really challenged the norm in terms of this whole preconception that you've been told that
Mhm.
everything's fine when it's not.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if we take MasterChef, for instance, which has
Mm.
always been something I've wanted to do, and maybe in the past it was, for me, not something I could do because I didn't find the confidence in it, or maybe, I'd have an endo flare up, or maybe they wouldn't even consider me because I had this condition. And I would
Yeah.
just secretly put it out there that I had gone to a non-regular doctor to get, the intense medical that you have to do,
Yes.
before you get onto MasterChef, that intense like booklet of a medical. I went to my non-regular doctor who didn't know all my history, and made sure that that didn't hinder my chances of pursuing my MasterChef journey. So there's so many
Yeah.
layers to this, but I really wanted to do that for myself, not for
Yeah.
anybody else. And the
Yeah.
fact that I did that meant now that I could, um, in a strange but very positive way, now after having done that, really use my platform to help other women want to
Yeah.
achieve what they want to do in life, and not let this be a barrier. And it will always be a barrier in some way, shape, or
Mhm.
form. And there's definitely, times of immense physical pain that you just physically can't push through.
Yeah.
But at least giving it a shot is so confidence building, and really important. I think really, really important for self-growth and self-strength.
Amazing. So good. I love it. I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
It's like
thank
a
you.
nice warm feeling. You're like, yes, girl, you go
Yeah,
for it. Like, don't let anything stop you. I love it.
that's it. That's it.
So
Yeah.
good. I would love to really talk to you about the way you've managed your endo.
Mhm,
Obviously, it's something that you can't specifically get rid of,
mhm,
and it is an inflammatory disorder in the body.
mhm,
But what has your management looked like in terms of food,
mhm,
supplementation, lifestyle
mhm.
changes, those more holistic daily routine
Yeah.
processes? Have any of those things made a
Oh,
difference for you, or have you tried certain things?
definitely. I have tried so many weird and wonderful things, and I think they all also overlap, and they all contribute to this general whole idea of living, a more manageable life with endo.
Yeah.
Food wise, definitely, like, I know my triggers as well. And
Mm.
there was a part of me, or just post diagnosis actually, that I started really confiding, and finding a lot of positivity about going to see a naturopath. And she
Yep.
was really like, food is one thing, and I know so much about food and how to cook it and how to prepare it and why it's good for you, but I also didn't know why some foods, or how some foods could be used on a more medicinal level.
Yeah.
And you can really use food as a way to targetly approach your pain.
Yep.
And so she was really good at advising me about, sort of foods that would cause inflammation in your body or trigger certain responses. Of
Mm.
course, endometriosis as well. It's got some sort of hormonal affiliation. So kind of stripping back foods that could cause hormonal imbalances was really important. And I learned so much stuff from her. But what I didn't learn, um, was balance. And that
Mhm.
was my own self fault. I really took what she said as Bible, and to do it, go hell for leather, go gung ho, and just strip everything else out of my diet. And so I think that was a really unhealthy approach for me. Although these foods, were helping me with my symptoms, and getting rid of all these other foods that were doing me wrong, it caused a really emotional damage, I think.
Mm.
And I lost a lot of weight. I was stressed. Food and cooking no longer became a love of mine. It was really much a chore, and it was stressful because I was like, oh, I can't have this, I can't have that, and I will not go to events, and I will not go to dinner parties anymore, because in fear of, having something there, and I don't want to be made a fuss of.
Yeah.
So that was really unhealthy. But learning about each and every ingredient and how they work, and now using that in more of a balanced diet, and recognizing that, yes, if I have this glass of wine, I'm more than likely going to blow up and I'm going to have this massive bloat for a day or two. But in this occasion, my mental well-being and the pleasure I get out of it is outweighing this, painful experience or uncomfortable experience for the next 24 hours. So it's really about recognizing in the moment what you feel and what worked for you. And everybody's so different. But yeah,
Yeah.
so saying off of carbonated drinks and Staying away
Yeah.
from caffeine has helped me significantly. But then again, including a lot of seafood into my life, lots of omega fatty acids has been really, really soothing and helps with inflammation. So there's so many different ways, and there's so many different foods that you can incorporate in your diet or get rid of in your diet, but it's about how you react, and it shouldn't be held, you know, to the T. It shouldn't be a Bible experience. It should be how you feel in that moment is how you should eat, I guess. Yeah.
And that's right. Our bodies are so unique. Like everything we have, everything we consume is reacting so differently to
Yeah,
every single person. And that is where
definitely.
I always say to people, you need to learn to listen to your body, because if you start to
100%.
listen, you start to actually understand what's working for you
Hmm.
and what's not working for you. And just because all of this stuff worked for this other person, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. And I think like there's this emotional side of it where we start thinking, oh my goodness, this worked for her, it's not working for me, what's wrong with me, nothing's going
100%.
to help me. And it's not about that. It's about learning to
Yeah.
listen to what your body needs, to what your body wants, and also finding that balance, like you said, because
Hmm.
food isn't just nourishment, it isn't just nutrients, it isn't just fuel. It's also a very emotional part of your life. Food brings
Massive.
joy.
Hmm.
We find comfort in food, and when you take everything away, that takes away a lot of goodness in your life, which then
100%.
leads to more issues because you're more stressed. And what happens when you're stressed in your mind? Your body is stressed. That
Hmm.
increases inflammation. So
Hmm.
it's just a snowball effect. And it's so important that, like you said, you have to find that balance. You have to learn to listen to your body, figure out what works for you, and then make adjustments that suit your lifestyle, because that's the only way things are sustainable. Or else you do
Yeah.
it for 4 weeks, 6
Yeah.
weeks, 8 weeks, and then you go
And
back to
then,
normal, or whatever
yeah.
normal is, whatever you perceive it to be, which is never, it's just a vicious cycle. It's just a trap that we get ourselves in. So
100%. And I've been there, done that. And
yeah.
it's taken me some time to realize that it is definitely not a one size fits all approach. Like with
Yeah.
anything, I think even with medicine, it's
Yeah.
everybody's body reacts so differently. And we all come from all walks of different life, and we all have
Mm,
different genetics. Not a single person
yeah.
on this planet has the same genetics. I
Yep.
know twins have, as close to as they can, but we all react differently and we all experience things differently. And I think you're so right. You really have to listen to your body, because that's the only person who's really going to tell you exactly what it does and doesn't agree with. So trust your gut, but also the way you feel is so important to self-manage, I guess,
Yeah.
especially with
100.
food.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Food is powerful. We have so much food that's abundant. And I think, when you look at making changes, look at all the goodness you have access to rather than what you're taking out. Because when we
Mhm.
look at the lack perspective, when we look at what we're not having, it makes everything so much harder and feel
Yeah.
like we're missing out on something, when
Yeah.
really, in reality, we're absolutely not. There is an abundance of amazing foods that our body really
Mhm.
loves and appreciates and
100%.
yeah.
100%. And I'll give you a quick example of what people would usually consider really healthy. And
Mm,
my naturopath at the time was like, eat lots of fiber because it helps with hormone balancing, but it
mm,
also helps with, regular bowel movement, which is great. But what I
yeah,
was finding and eating so much fiber, and although it was really healthy and there was so many nutrients in it as well as so many vitamins and minerals, um, the I guess in a non-gross way, the gas it creates and the pressure it created in my body was meaning it was pressing on all the sore spots. So although it
yeah,
was really healthy, and you should include this diet because it helps with inflammation, it means you're getting your iron intake, you're getting your regular fiber, it was really, really painful. So again,
wow,
it is a case by case approach, and it's no one size fits all. So you need
mm,
to experiment with different things to see what works for you, and then make alterations accordingly. And then also not be mad at yourself for then including something that, is a bit naughty. Like I do enjoy a glass of wine. I hate what it does to my body. I hate that it bloats me and it makes me feel sick. But I also really enjoy the taste. So there's a fine line there. You just got to pick your battles, I guess, and in the
That's
moment,
right.
what you want to do. Yeah.
That's right. It just comes back to just be kind to yourself. We're all doing the best that we can,
Yeah.
and there is no perfect way to live your life, you know, or because of what we've seen on paper, because of what someone
Hmm.
else has said, because of what we've seen on Instagram. It just comes down to what feels perfect for you. And be
Yeah.
kind to yourself while you learn, while you adjust, while you try new things, because nutrition is something you do forever. It is a
Hmm.
lifelong journey where
Hmm.
you continue to give your body what you need. And as you go through different phases, especially being a woman, we have our cycle throughout the month. We have 4 different stages throughout the month
Hmm.
where our hormones are changing. So again, depending on where you're at, different foods and different nutrients are going to make such a big difference, especially
Hmm.
on a hormonal level. So
Yeah,
be
definitely. And
kind, be
you
kind.
can see that. Yeah, I love this
Yeah,
because it's like
yeah.
everything that I've learned in my journey over these years is so exactly what you're saying. And I
Mhm,
think we forget as well that being, female and having these hormonal cycles means that
mhm,
one week is never the same, and we do actually need different things at different times of our cycle.
mhm.
And I
Yeah,
think we forget that. I think we forget that. And I think the more we understand or are in touch with that, the better off we can be, as a whole, and be better
mm,
for ourselves too.
yeah, 100%. So I'd love to ask from your perspective,
Mhm.
how can friends, family, work colleagues, workplaces, how can we all do better to support those who are living with endometriosis, who are living with that chronic pain? Because I mean, I'm sure you've heard recently, I can't remember the person's name in the
Yep.
radio, how they
Mhm.
make jokes about women with
Mhm.
endometriosis, how it's made up, and there's still this stigma around it, which is disgusting and
Mhm.
horrible. And, I think it really takes away from the chronic pain that women are experiencing and
Oh.
still trying to live a normal life, going to work, doing all the things, going
Mhm.
to the gym, whatever it is. So, how can we do better as a community to support our friends, our work colleagues, our family members who are experiencing endo?
Yeah, definitely. And there's so many ways you can support one with endometriosis, but also
Mhm.
everything. The foundation for everything in life, it comes down to education. And I
Yes.
think familiarizing yourself with what endometriosis is as a condition, what it might look like for people and different people, and how prevalent it is, because it's like 1 in 9 Australians, I think, who are living with this condition, but also unknowingly as well. There are lots of people out there who are suffering in silence and who don't know what's going on. And maybe they don't know what endometriosis is, but it starts with just one person who knows about it and who can be open in communication with somebody who they might feel needs some support on a,
Mm.
emotional level. And it really just come down to education and word of mouth, and being kind and understanding and listening.
Yeah.
I think people are very quick to pose judgment or to give advice, but as we just discussed earlier, one human is not the same as another. So we all go
Yeah.
through things differently. We react differently. We require attention differently. We
Yeah.
process things differently. So it's really important to still have sensitivity when you're navigating conversations with
Mm.
people. You don't want to, I don't know, put them in a corner, I guess, and you want to just be open and comforting, and listen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it comes down to education. It comes down to having conversations with our male counterparts, making it normal to talk about periods, to talk about some things that were once upon a time really taboo at a dinner table. To make
Mm.
everybody informed is going to make a positive, impact with everybody. So starts with education, word of mouth. It took one conversation with my one client to lead
Mm.
me to a diagnosis. So for every one person just shared a little snippet of what endometriosis means to them, or they know somebody with endometriosis, it just pops the word endometriosis out there on their social media. The
Mm.
exposure that gets, and the amount of attention that raises to one condition, it could do so much. It could do so much.
Mm.
So yeah, just get around your people, be supportive, communicate, but be patient and listen and educate. Educate yourself and then educate the people around you. definitely.
Yeah. It all comes down to education. Knowledge is power,
Oh,
and the more
massively.
people know, the more we can make change and do better and be better as a collective. So,
Yeah,
yes.
100%.
Um, if you could go back and
Uh-huh,
give advice to your younger self when you
uh-huh.
first started experiencing those symptoms, when you were
Hmm.
first having to go to hospital and do all the
Hmm.
things and take all the painkillers, what would you say to her?
I would say, babe, trust your gut. Trust your
Yeah.
gut and continue to be strong and just
Mm,
continue to fight. Just continue to
yeah.
fight, not within yourself, but so that people can hear you.
Mm,
And don't ever let, um, anybody in your life kind of silence you or feel like what you're going through is of less significant than what others
mm,
are going through. Because I think confidence is really important. And once we're
mm,
told things enough times, we start believing it. And so then we stop searching for answers.
mm,
So, yeah, when we stop searching for answers, it means we've given up. There's no more hope. And
mm,
we start believing in a different way of life. So, yeah, just back yourself, trust your gut, and be very strong and put your foot down because it's your body, it's your life, and you're the one living it. So make sure, whatever you are expressing is being heard and don't stop until it is heard.
yeah. Good on you. And, that's important. And whether it's endometriosis or whether it's something else, if your gut is telling you that something is not right, if your gut is saying, I feel like this is the wrong diagnosis, or I feel like this is, you know, I'm being gaslit or something like
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
listen to that and lean into that because only you know your body. And if something doesn't feel right and it's not
Yeah,
sitting right, there's a reason why you're feeling that way. So follow your instincts and follow your gut. Um,
100%. And I
yeah,
think, yeah,
agree.
another thing would be as well, just really quickly for anybody who might
Mm,
have already seen a doctor for, you know, reasons that kind of encompass endometriosis, whether it's painful periods or whatever,
mm,
and have been dismissed or just quickly, been given, some pain medication or a contraceptive pill to kind of subdue everything.
mm,
Um, Go and find more advice. Like, go and get a second opinion. Do not feel
mm,
resistance to getting a second opinion. There have been so many times, even today, I have been misdiagnosed in different
mm.
areas of my life, like as simple as a UTI sort of thing. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it doesn't
Mm,
hurt to get a second opinion. And yeah, you need multiple. You need multiple until you feel like you've found exactly what's hitting the nail on the head. So don't be
yeah,
afraid to get a second opinion ever. I've had
yeah,
100 until I got to
yeah.
where I was. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, at the end of the day, it's your body, it's your life. You're the one who's
Yeah.
affected by it. So
Mhm.
you have to do the hard work. Unfortunately, you have to
Yeah.
put yourself out there and
Yeah.
find, what it is that is going to help you and support you on a deeper level. So if you could leave anyone a message, especially the
Hmm.
listeners who may be struggling with endometriosis or even just chronic pain,
Hmm.
what would you say to them? What do you want to leave
Oh,
them with?
that's a really tricky one because there's so many things I would love to say to
Yeah.
them. But I think, um, really be kind to yourself and allow
Mm,
yourself, the time and the energy to do whatever it is that's going to take you to feel good, whatever
mm,
level of good you can. And just, yeah, let the people around you in as well. Don't be afraid to let them in because I have found so much comfort in people around me understanding my condition and in all areas of my life, in the workplace, in my family circle, in my friend groups, in the leisurely activities that I do as well. So the more people that you can have in your corner, the more
mm,
support, love, comfort they can offer you. So don't be afraid to voice up and let people
mm,
in because for a long time I didn't do that and it has helped
mm.
me significantly over the years.
I'm glad you've said that because I actually had a therapist on the podcast a while ago and we were talking about lots of different things and she really
Mm.
said, community is everything.
Take the
Having people
village.
you. Yeah, being able to feel supported by those you love, like let people in, let yourself be supported by your community, whoever that is, whatever they look like. It's really, really important for every aspect of our life, no matter what we're going through.
Definitely, definitely. I think as, human nature is to nurture.
Yeah.
And to survive. And we do need a community. It takes a village. It really does take a village. And we know this. So make sure you're letting people in, because they can't help if they don't know. Definitely can't help if they don't know.
Oh, you have been incredible to speak to. You are
Oh.
such an incredible advocate. You speak so well. You share your journey. You share your experiences so beautifully. And it really does bring awareness to something that, there still needs to be so much more conversations around. So thank you for coming on and sharing all of that with us, honestly.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and it's something I love to do. I love to share my story in hopes that it might just change one person in their journey. So yeah, thank you again for this opportunity, and it's been really lovely to actually connect properly. We're always, on Instagram messaging each other, but it's been lovely to have you right in front of me for the past 40 minutes or whatever it's been. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I really thank you for getting me on board, because the more we talk about it, the more the word gets spread out, the more we can help our fellow endo warriors.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much. And thank you guys for listening. I hope you all loved that episode. I will pop all of Alex's links in the show notes to her socials and everything else, so you can go and find her. But I will see you back here next week for more mood boosting goodness. And remember, you have the power to boost your mood. It's all in your daily routine. So go make today a good day. Bye. Mwah.